I'm 73 years old now, and I've been growing things since before most of you were born. And let me tell you something. There's a heartbreak that comes when you plant a whole flat of seedlings, you watch them push up through the soil, and then a week later you realize they're not really growing anymore. They're just sitting there, stunted, stuck. I've seen it happen to beginners, and I've done it to myself more times than I care to remember. My name doesn't matter much, but what does matter is what I've learned after all these years working this ground. And today, I want to walk you through the 7 mistakes that will stunt your seedlings before they ever see the garden, and how to fix every single one of them. Some of them are your fault. Some of them aren't. But either way, by the time we're done here, you're going to know how to raise strong, healthy starts that actually stand a chance out there. So, settle in. Maybe grab a cup of something warm. And let's talk about seedlings. The first thing you need to understand is that not all seed is good seed. And even good seed can go bad if you don't treat it right. I used to keep mine in a drawer in the shed, hot in summer, cold in winter, damp when it rained. And I wondered why my germination rates were so poor. Took me longer than it should have to figure it out. Now I keep them in one of those little plastic photo boxes. The kind with dividers. You can pick one up for a few dollars, and I store it somewhere cool, dry, and dark. A closet shelf works, the back of a cupboard, anywhere that doesn't swing between hot and cold. Do that, and your seeds will last you 3 years, 5 years, sometimes 10 or more. Treat them carelessly, and they'll be dead before you even plant them. But let's say your seed is fine. You've stored it well. You plant it, and it comes up. Now, here's the next mistake I see all the time, and I did this for years before I learned better. You plant too many seeds in one cell, and then you never thin them out. Look, I get it. You want to make sure something comes up, so you drop in 3, 4, 5 seeds, and they all sprout. And you think, well, that's good, right? More is better. Wrong. Dead wrong. Those seedlings are going to fight each other for light, for water, for space, and they'll all end up weak. I learned to go through my trays about a week after they come up and snip out the smaller ones. Just a quick cut with scissors. It feels wasteful at first, but it's not. You're giving the strong one room to grow, and that's what matters. Now let me tell you about the mistake I made more than any other in my early years. Overwatering. I drowned more seedlings than I like to admit. I thought I was being helpful, thought I was being attentive, but all I was doing was rotting them out before they had a chance. See, when you keep the soil soaking wet all the time, the roots don't have any reason to stretch out and search for moisture. And worse than that, they start to rot. They suffocate. I've pulled up seedlings that looked fine above the soil, only to find mush below. So how do you stop this? First, use a soil mix that drains well. We'll talk more about soil in a minute. Second, use pots with good drainage holes at the bottom. I like deep holes, big enough that water doesn't sit, and big enough that I can pop the plant out cleanly when it's time to transplant. And third, use trays with drainage underneath, especially if you're in a climate where it rains a lot. Otherwise, that water just pools, and you forget about it, and your seedlings drown. One more thing about overwatering. It's worse in winter. The water doesn't evaporate as fast when the air is cool. So in fall and winter, I mix a little extra perlite into my soil to keep it from holding too much moisture. Learned that one after I lost a whole tray of brassicas one December. All right. The third problem, placement. Where you put your seedlings matters more than most people realize. I've got a table I built years ago, mobile, so I can roll it around the garden depending on the season. In winter, the sun comes in low from the south, so I move the table to catch as much light as I can. But there's a trade-off. That spot gets wind, and wind will stunt seedlings faster than almost anything. You want them to get light, good, strong light, but you don't want them getting beaten up by gusts. A little air movement is fine. In fact, it's good. It strengthens the stems. But too much, and they'll just dry out and struggle. So I've learned to move that table around. Find the sweet spot, watch how the sun and wind move through your space, and adjust. It took me years of trial and error to figure out where things actually wanted to be. The garden will teach you if you pay attention. Now, here's something that surprises people. You can actually stunt your seedlings by leaving them in the pot too long. Sounds backward, doesn't it? But it's true. I've got a purple cauliflower start here. Brassicas and I have a complicated history, by the way. I've struggled with them for years. But look at the roots on this one. See how they're starting to spiral around the bottom? That's the beginning of what we call being root-bound. Give it another week, and those roots will be tangled up like a ball of yarn. And once that happens, the plant never really recovers. Even if you get it in the ground, it's already behind. I used to think I could just let them sit in the tray as long as I wanted. But the garden taught me otherwise. Now I use trays with slats on the sides, lets the roots air prune themselves instead of circling, and I transplant them out as soon as they're ready. Don't wait. Don't put it off. Get them in the ground or pot them up into something bigger. All right, let's talk about soil. Because this is where a lot of people go wrong without even knowing it. Most seed starting mix is basically empty. It's just a medium to hold the seed in place while it germinates. There's almost no nutrition in it. And that's fine for the first week or two. But after that, if you don't do something, those seedlings are going to starve. Now, I don't use seed starting mix anymore. I stopped buying it years ago. Instead, I take regular potting soil, the good stuff, and I run it through a screen. A 1/4-inch mesh works well. All the big chunks of wood and bark stay on top, and what falls through is fine and light, perfect for starting seeds. But even that's not enough on its own. So I mix in worm castings, about 20% of the total volume. The castings bring nutrients, and they bring beneficial microbes. And they'll keep those seedlings fed for an extra 2 weeks or more. I learned this from a man named Jacques, who used to help me out here years ago. Quiet fellow. Spent more time with the compost pile than he did with people, but he knew soil better than anyone I've ever met, and this was his method. I've been using it ever since. Even with good soil, though, you're going to need to fertilize eventually. After about 2 weeks, once those seedlings have used up what's in the soil, they need food. I use a diluted fish fertilizer, 1/4 strength, and I water it in once a week. You'll see the difference almost immediately. The leaves darken up, the stems thicken. The whole plant just wakes up. But don't think that means you can leave them in the tray forever. You can't. Eventually, they'll outgrow the space. And you'll be right back to the root-bound problem. The goal is to feed them just enough to keep them strong until you can get them in the ground. Here's the thing that took me the longest to accept. If you start your seedlings off wrong, the whole life of that plant is going to suffer. You can't make up for it later. I've tried. You're always playing catch-up, and you never quite get there. A stunted seedling grows into a stunted plant. That's just how it is. So you have to get it right from the beginning. And that means paying attention to a few more things. If you're growing indoors, you need some air movement. A small fan, set on low. just enough to make the leaves sway a little. It strengthens the stems, makes them sturdier, but don't overdo it. Too much wind indoors will dry them out and stress them. And light. Light is huge. I see people put their seedlings under a light that's 2 feet away, and then they wonder why the plants are stretching and weak. Get that light close, closer than you think, as close as you can without burning them. The stronger the light, the stronger the plant. On the other hand, if you're growing outside, you've got the opposite problem. Too much wind, too much sun sometimes, especially in the afternoon. I've had seedlings dry out in a matter of hours because I left them in a windy spot with no shade. The leaves curl, the edges burn, and once that happens, they don't recover. So you've got to find the balance. Enough light, enough air, not too much of either. It's not complicated, but it does take attention, and it takes time. The garden doesn't rush. I'm 73 now. I've been doing this for more than 40 years. And I still make mistakes. I still lose seedlings, but I lose fewer than I used to, because I've learned to watch, to listen, to remember. And that's what I want for you. I want you to take what I've shared here today and use it. Don't just nod along and forget. Actually do it. Check your seeds. Thin your seedlings. Don't drown them. Don't let them get root-bound. Feed them. Give them light. Protect them from wind. And when you do all that, you'll have strong, healthy starts. The kind that actually thrive when you put them in the ground. The kind that make you glad you took the time to do it right. So go on. Get out there. The garden's waiting. And remember, this is Grow Root Gardening. We've been at this a long time, and we'll keep sharing what we know for as long as we're able. Until next time, keep growing